Okay, so good evening. Someone asked a question that how descent is a structural principle for categorization of social groups. Simply, dear, answer is if there is matrilineal type of descent, so what kind of social structure they will have? So it's a structural principle that create the structures in the society. सिंपल, ठीक है. पैट्रिलिनियल होगा तो कैसा स्ट्रक्चर बनेगा? सिंपल आंसर है. एनी अदर डाउट? एनीबडी हैव? नहीं, ठीक है. सो लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट टॉपिक एंड वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट मैट्रिलिनियल पजल. Right? It simply talks about the contradiction between the matrilineal patrilocality and patriarchy. Okay, simply it is representing the contradiction. The contradiction is quite visible in matrilineal puzzle. It is on the basis of lineage and residence. Lineage and residence. For example, Dambu of Zambia right, studied by Turner. Okay, Dambu is matrilineal in descent. But patriarchal in residence. And because of this, contradiction, there are frequent divorces and breakup of villages in Dambu. ठीक है, समझ में आ गया? Second, there is contradiction at the level of lineage and authority. In many of the matrilineal societies studied by Richards, Audrey Richards, Turner, Malinowski, etc., etc., comma, among matrilineal societies, the authority is exercised by the male members. The male members, which results in various kinds of loyalty disputes and role conflicts, which results in loyalty disputes and role conflicts. So next point we'll write role conflicts. Right? रोल कन्फ्लिक्ट्स कैसे होंगे? किस किस के बीच में रोल कन्फ्लिक्ट है? से मैटरनल ब्रदर जो होगा वो फादर का रोल फुलफिल करे या फिर मैटरनल ब्रदर का या फिर मामा का रोल फुलफिल करे. Isn't it? Because that father, that maternal brother is a father also. He want his property to be given to his own son, but he cannot. He had to give that to his sister's son. So there is a conflict between, you can say love conflict between, you can say towards his own son, biological son, and to his sister's son. So there is a role conflict. So role conflict of the maternal uncle, role conflict of the father, role conflict of the sister, and you can say wife. So let's see. Can you see these conflicts? ब्रदर का रोल एंड हस्बैंड का रोल में, सिस्टर by lineage, sister is should be more loyal to the brother, right? But again she is a wife also, right? And this role conflict result in dual loyalty. It results in dual loyalty. ठीक है, और ये डुअल लॉयल्टी के कारण क्या होता है, सोशल स्ट्रक्चर थोड़ा सा प्रॉपर स्टेबल नहीं होता है, अनस्टेबल हो जाता है, राइट? दिस रिजल्ट्स इन अनस्टेबल सोशल स्ट्रक्चर. Right? And that is the reason given by many scholars that is why matrilineal societies are very few nowadays, right? Because they have transitioned to the patrilineal patriarchal setup, right? That is basically the matrilineal puzzle, because there is dual loyalty, there is role conflict, which results in a kind of unstable social structure, and that is why many of the matrilineal societies have transitioned towards the patrilineal setup, right? ठीक है? So this is your matrilineal puzzle. ठीक है? Simply it defeats the assumption that most of us have, that matrilineally go with the matrilocality and matriarchy. This is not so. ठीक है? ऐसा नहीं होता है. Simply this is the question based on that. I believe you got a decent idea about this. लास्ट ईयर क्वेश्चन आ चुका है, ऐसा कोई है नहीं कि अभी जल्दी से इस पे कोई क्वेश्चन आने वाला है, बट फिर भी आपको आइडिया होना चाहिए क्या है ये. ठीक है, अब क्वेश्चन आया क्यों था उसका भी कोई कारण होगा. बिकॉज देयर वाज ए डिबेट इन मेघालय, राइट. सो हाँ, खासीज का मैट्रिलिनियल सेटअप है, राइट, एंड देयर वर एफर्ट्स बाय द लोकल politicians, local organizations, that we must make our own society a patrilineal society. That is the basic reason. ठीक है, तो इसीलिए क्वेश्चन आया था. तो keep on following the news. Suppose you find something interesting, something important that is going on in our socio-political, biological or any arena, please do ask me. Maybe I may overlook some things, right? It happens. We are humans, right? So please do let me know if you ask question. That will also help me to find out the trend of the things. ठीक है, कभी अगर लगता है कि सर इस पे कोई क्वेश्चन तो नहीं आ जाएगा, please do send me. I will definitely talk about it. Now today we are going to talk about the next unit, that is economic organization. Let's write down the syllabus. Meaning, scope and relevance of economic anthropology, formalist, substantivist debate, right. Then principles governing production, distribution and exchange, right, bracket, reciprocity, redistribution and market. In communities, subsisting on hunting and gathering, fishing, swiddening. Swiddening means shifting agriculture, pastoralism, horticulture, Sweetening is a kind of horticulture, right? Horticulture simply means gardening. That garden can be developed by clearing a plot and burning the trees there, and then we can do gardening. That becomes swift, you can say shift and क्या बोलते हैं, shifting agriculture, slash and burn agriculture, right? वो भी एक तरह का horticulture ही होता है, right? And agriculture. Don't consider your knowledge of horticulture कि यहाँ पे फ्लावर उगाते हैं वो सब, वो अपनी क्रॉप्स, बेसिकली इट्स अ रूडिमेंट्री फॉर्म ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर, राइट? यूजिंग सिंपल हैंड होल्ड tools rather than complex tools, right? Next is globalization and indigenous economic systems. Okay, before we move on to this topic, let me just give you that we study simple economies or the complex economies. All of these are under the ambit of anthropology, and that comes under the sub branch of anthropology that we call economic anthropology, right? Now, in this, there are two schools of thought, two broader school of thought. One is formalist, other is substantivist. Formalist are those who try to apply the models of neoclassical economics to study the simple societies. Smith's, जो एडम स्मिथ वाले प्रिंसिपल जो थे वो अप्लाई करने का, द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ स्कार्सिटी, द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ रेशनैलिटी, द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ मार्केट, वो अप्लाई करने की कोशिश करते हैं, ये बन गए फॉर्मलिस्ट. द अदर ग्रुप इज सब्सटेंटिविस्ट, right? Substantivists say that we must understand the simple economies in their own cultural context rather than imposing some principles, right? So this become substantivist, right? So there's a debate between the two, right? And दोनों ही debate, दोनों ही school of thought क्या समझते हैं, that simple societies are like isolated pockets, simply isolated हैं. Don't you think that they are influenced by colonial powers? They are also influenced by the changing climate. So वो सब चीजें इन्होंने इनकॉर्पोरेट नहीं किया, तो इनको हम क्रिटिसाइज कर देंगे बाद में, ठीक है, जैसे हमने अलायंस और उसमें किया, राइट? देन प्रिंसिपल्स गवर्निंग प्रोडक्शन, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन एंड एक्सचेंज, कि क्या प्रिंसिपल गवर्न करता है प्रोडक्शन के, राइट? व्हाई मलेर डू नॉट प्लो, we had discussed earlier, why Malay do not plow. Why some people like Iban and many other communities of Polynesia, they use handheld knives and that they hide behind their fingers, right? Because rice ने देख लिया तो rice की spirit will flee, right? Distribution. So distribution basically, this one is the distributory mechanism, right? जैसे आपकी फैमिली में आपके पापा मम्मा आपसे ये तो नहीं एक्सपेक्ट करते कि कल को हमें देगा तभी हम इसको दे रहे हैं, राइट? सो दे आर डूइंग जनरलाइज्ड रेसिप्रोसिटी, राइट? दे डोंट एक्सपेक्ट एनीथिंग इन रिटर्न, कल को बनेगा या नहीं बनेगा, दे डोंट एक्सपेक्ट इवन दैट मच, बट दे आर इन्वेस्टिंग ऑन यू, दे आर स्पेंडिंग ऑन यू, बट वट एवर यू से. बट सपोज आपका कोई दोस्त है, आपको पार्टी दे देता है, एक बार दे देगा, यू अंडरस्टैंड, पार्टी देना, अरे लंच पे लेके जाना, खाने पे लेके जाना, है ना? सो वंस दैट फ्रेंड में कॉल यू ऑन अ पार्टी, सेकेंड टाइम दैट फ्रेंड में कॉल यू ऑन द पार्टी, राइट? थर्ड टाइम ऑल्सो, राइट? बट इफ यू डू नॉट रेसिप्रोकेट, next time you are off the list, isn't it? That is what happens. So you people live in a society where there is balanced reciprocity, एक आध दे एक आध ले, right? Otherwise there is no free gift, right? और कभी you have seen that foreign tourists are coming in India, राइट एंड रिक्शा वाला बोलेगा कि मुझे पॉपुलर जूस तक छोड़ दो, रिक्शा वाले को बोला उसने मेट्रो स्टेशन से, और ही आस्क्ड 500 रुपीज पॉपुलर जूस तक का, दैट इज नेगेटिव रेसिप्रोसिटी, लूट लेना बेसिकली दूसरे को, दैट इज नेगेटिव रेसिप्रोसिटी. वाइफ रेड कर देना, दैट मीन्स यू हैव रेडेड अ ट्राइब एंड looted their women, looted their material goods, etc. Right? Redistribution, whatever you have is collected and stocked at a place and redistributed at another time. Right? Government हमसे tax collect करता है, redistribute करता है welfare schemes में, that is redistribution. Right? Kind of redistribution. Simple society में भी होता है, and market all of you know. Right? There are some societies which subsist on hunting and gathering. Right? Very simple societies which live in band. There are fishing societies, right? जो fishing पे subsist करते हैं. Swedening and horticulture are one and the same. Pastoralism, you know, there are societies like there are settled pastorals and there are nomadic pastorals. Nomadic pastorals can be your Gaddis, Bakarwals, Gujars, right? And the settled one like Ahirs of UP and Bihar, right? Like Todas of Nilgiri, these are settled, right? So ye pastoralism, right? Agriculture you all know, and naturally you know that globalization had impacted all the three things, that is the production system of indigenous people, their distribution system, right, and exchange. Machines आ गया है, industrial input आ गया production system में, they become laborers somewhere else. Distribution आ गया है, right? डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में क्या हो गया, अभी पैसे से डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन हो रहा है. जाजमानी सिस्टम भी अगर हम पहले देखें, जाजमानी इज नॉट एट ऑल सिंपल, जाजमानी इज ऑलरेडी अ कॉम्प्लेक्स सोसाइटी, बट इफ यू गो टू सिंपल सोसाइटी देयर आर चेंजेस. पीपल you know you use their material sense in exchange, right? अभी वो लोग कुरकुरा खा रहे हैं, right? And they are consuming data. So there are many changes that have occurred in their society. Now, before we go into what is this economic anthropology, first and foremost we must understand what is economic organization. What is it? It is a part of social organization or social system. It is that part of the social system which deals with production, distribution, exchange, and consumption. ये तो इकोनॉमिक्स में पढ़ा होगा ना, इकोनॉमिक्स की डेफिनेशन यही होती है ना, तो ये वही तो है, इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम करता है, उसी को तो इकोनॉमिक्स पढ़ रहा है, ठीक है? सो इकोनॉमिक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज दिस, ठीक है? नाउ economic organization of simple as well as complex society is studied by a sub-discipline of anthropology that we call economic anthropology. Now, before we start this topic, economic anthropology, why economic anthropology is important? Why economy is important? Let me ask you this question. What is the role of economy in our lives or in the life of a simple society? I want you to tell me some case studies and prove it. Why economy is important? Is it important in how you make families? How you do marriage? Tell me the case study. Yes, dear. You are saying yes. I want to find out the reason behind it. Huh. No, I'm asking how economy is the base of the way we marry, the way we make families? Tell me that. Hmm? Is it clear to all of you? Why do they practice polyandry? Because the geography where they live is not very supportive of producing good harvest, right? And if they do not have sufficient grains to survive, so if all the brothers marry, what will happen? There will be population explosion, there will be imbalance between the resources and the population, right? So that is why this is the economy that shapes the way they marry, right? Okay, family. Why Kung Mabuti have neolocal families? Why agricultural castes have joint families? Resources, isn't it? Joint family in the agricultural castes or agricultural tribes is because of the need of plenty of labor in the agricultural operations, right? Okay, let's look at the kinship also. Does it have anything to do with the kinship? बताओ. यस बोलते तो पकड़े जाओगे, बोलो क्यों? हम्म. Okay, no. How economy determines the kinship? Hmm. Hmm. Great. You understand newer wala case? Right? So they sustain on their own resources, but they unite whenever there is an external threat. Right? So segmentary lineage system of newer. अल्टीमेटली किन है कौन जो आपको सपोर्ट करेगा? कोई पॉलिटिशियन बन जाए आपके गोत्र वाला, सबका रिश्तेदार है वो, है ना? अगर कोई गलती से मोदी लिख रहा है तो मोदी उसका रिश्तेदार है अब, राइट? सो ऐसा होता है ना. इफ देयर इज समवन वेल्दी, एवरीवन वांट टू बी किन ऑफ हिम और हर, राइट? नेक्स्ट, पॉलिटिकल. ये आपने पढ़ा नहीं है, फिर भी मैं आपसे पूछूंगा. इकोनॉमी एंड पॉलिटिकल एस्पेक्ट. Let me give you a few examples. Potlatch, yes, we have discussed a little bit of it. Potlatch. So, say those who are gifting generously, right? The more generously one gifts or throw away his wealth will be given a title of chief, right? So, potlatching. Potlatching, I'm just using the verb here, right? Potlatch लिख सकते हो आप. Among Kwakiutl. You remember Weber's idea? the Protestant ethics and the spirit of capitalism. Protestant ethics and spirit of capitalism. Do you think that economy shapes the religious practices of yours, or religion shapes the economic practices, or both way around? Both way around or one way? Both way around? I want examples from both sides then. One way I have told you, Protestant ethic, other is Malair, दोनों ही religion और economy को this side दिखा रहे हैं. ये side चाहिए मुझे अब. I must have discussed Marvin Harris and cow worship. The belief of cow worship is basically because that cow is more valuable alive than dead. So the material value is responsible for cow being considered a sacred animal. Right? Yes, pig के बारे में, but वो religion से कम बाकी चीजों से ज्यादा है. Right? Religious, हाँ, जैसे हिंदू का तो एक सिंबल है ना cow, it's a major symbol. But pig is forbidden. Pig meat is forbidden. That is just a sub part of it, right? Like Quran is a big symbol in Islam, right? So you may know that cow is seen as such a sentimental thing, right? I must not use the word even thing, but sentimental, or you can say a very sensitive topic in terms of Hindus' belief system is considered, right? So religion से भी जुड़ा हुआ है. You may say that economy shape every aspect of your life in a sense, right? So studying economic organization and various facets of it is the key to understand the simple societies, their social structure, their social systems. ठीक है? Okay. There is a statement by a very famous economic historian or anthropologist, Karl Polanyi. Instead of being economy embedded in the social structure is embedded in economy. Because he was an economic historian, anthropologist, right? So he sees the primacy of economy over the society and various aspects of social structure or social institutions, right? So even you can say that whenever you find any functionalists or any other argument, you will find that they give a lot of value to the economic aspect. When we are going to study the theories like evolutionists will be emphasizing too much on the resource aspect. There are scholars like functionalists, they will again talk about the functionality. Then there are cultural materialists. They will also again talk about the value here. Right? So I believe you have seen the bigger picture. I will be giving you many more case studies in this subpart. So let's start with the definition of economic anthropology. Okay. इकोनॉमिक एंथ्रोपोलॉजी, आप तो अपनी वाली डेफिनेशन भी लिख सकते हो. होलिस्टिक स्टडी ऑफ इकोनॉमिक एस्पेक्ट ऑफ ह्यूमन काइंड ओवर टाइम एंड प्लेस. दैट इज सिंपलेस्ट डेफिनेशन, राइट? कुछ याद ना आए तो हमारा सबसे अच्छा डेफिनेशन है. एक और लिख लो डेफिनेशन. अकॉर्डिंग टू नदीम हसनन, एक बुक काफी पॉपुलर है हमारे यहाँ पे, राइट? सो नदीम हसनन काफी अच्छा लिखते हैं कुछ कुछ चीजों पे. नदीम हसनन, इट इज द क्रॉस कल्चरल एंड comparative study of economic systems, cross-cultural and comparative study of economic systems. It analyzes economic system as a subsystem of society. Subsystem of society. Development. Development of economic anthropology can be traced in three distinct stages. Three distinct stages. Stage 1. In stage 1, the 19th century evolutionists tried to understand evolution of economic systems. Economic systems from hunting and gathering to pastoralism and horticulture to agriculture. Right? In stage 2, scholars like Malinowski, Boas, and others applied cultural relativism, all well, to understand the simple societies stage 3. Stage 3, the focus of economic anthropology shifted on developmental anthropology and problems caused by development. I believe you understand what are the problems caused by development, modern development, displacement of the tribes and all these things, right? Okay. Next is scope of economic anthropology. Number 1, the scope of economic anthropology is universal It study primitive, peasant, as well as modern economies. Second, it studies production, distribution, and consumption habits of simple as well as modern society. Next, it tries to understand the relationship between ecology and economy, culture and economy, etc. Next, economic anthropology studies the change aspect as well as the reasons for change in simple societies. Case study: Potlatch. Change aspect and the reasons of change in the simple society. Simple societies are increasingly being changed, right? उनका खुद का जो प्रोडक्शन सिस्टम था वो चेंज हो रहा है, राइट? क्यों चेंज हो रहा है? उसके पीछे रीजन है that they are being exposed to the modern forces, the infrastructural forces, the communication networks that we have built in their systems. Somewhere we are constructing the kind of ponds, you can say this dams, right? Somewhere we are doing mining, somewhere we are constructing railway network, right? So that is basically changing the way they produce because they are displaced. एक सिंपल saying है, एक डॉक्टर B.D. शर्मा, former commissioner for scheduled tribes, right? He says that the tribal people who used to be the kings of the forest, right, have become criminals in their own homeland because they used to use this forest products for their daily living. Now collection of forest products become a crime. The forest officials basically beat them up, sometimes even rape their women, sometimes they exploit the people, right? ऐसा होता है. If their you can say cattle they graze into a territory which is reserved, again they will be punished, right? So they become criminals. They used to drink that their local brew, but drinking that brew again and making that brew is a crime. Every tribal community have its own local brew. In northeast if you go, then in northeast बच्चे के पैदा होते ही उसके मुंह में बियर डाल दी जाती है, right? हाँ, sometimes it's kind of cruel also because I have spoken to some of my students who belong to that area. They say सही में वो बहुत ज़्यादा, क्योंकि alcohol is not that sweet in flavor कि आप उसको डालो, right? So डालोगे तो naturally it will harm, right? It's very you can say concentrated form of any liquid, right? Okay, so case study: Potlatch. Franz Boas studied potlatch among the Kwakiutls of Northwest Pacific coast northwest Pacific coast of Canada. Portlaches are characterized by elaborate gifting, dancing, and feasting. The generous gifting, full stop करके लिखो, generous gifting is linked to the social status, linked to the social status of an individual. Right? There is a term that we call conspicuous. What is conspicuous? Conspicuous? No, dear. What is conspicuous? Conspicuous. What is conspicuous? Anyone? अरे कोई तो अंग्रेजी पढ़ के आए होगे. अरे जो साफ दिखता है, साफ दिखता है मतलब क्लियरली विजिबल है, छुपा नहीं हुआ है. इट इज कॉन्स्पिक्यूअस, सबको दिख रहा है. हाँ, काइंड ऑफ यू कैन से, मतलब वो बाहर से ही दिख रहा है, कॉन्स्पिक्यूअस. सो देयर इज अ टर्म कॉल्ड कॉन्स्पिक्यूअस कंजम्पशन. दिखावे के लिए खर्चा, महंगी ब्रांडेड कपड़े पहनना, वॉचेस, महंगी गाड़ी रखना, शादी में ज्यादा खर्चा करना. That is conspicuous consumption in our society. This potlatch is a kind of conspicuous consumption. You understand? And why this conspicuous consumption? To raise the status, to get the rank of a chief. Right? This custom, it was considered as a kind of, you can say, wasteful expenditure by the Canadian government, and it was banned in 1950s. Later on they realized कि इतना wasteful नहीं था, it is part of their custom. ठीक है? Okay. Now there are many more case studies that we are going to cover. ये एक case study है यहाँ पे, इतना ही लिख लो. Right? Similar case studies are, MOCA system is there. Right? MOCA system में भी ऐसा ही होता है. MOCA system, MOKA, MOCA. अभी लिखना मत, सिर्फ आपको वैसे ही बता रहा हूं. मोका सिस्टम वाज स्टडीड बाय मार्शल साहलिन्स इन पपुआ न्यू गिनी. इसमें क्या होता है? यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट मच हिंदी? ओके. सो इफ सपोज यू आर गिविंग मी अ गिफ्ट, नॉर्मली द गिफ्ट इज ऑफ द पिग मीट. यू आर गिविंग मी half kg of pig meat, say. So I am obliged now. I have to increase the weight, I have to increase the gift, and that is how it goes on. If I am successful in increasing the gift, every gift I receive, then I may get the status of big man. Big man, that means a kind of chief. Big man or big women, that depends what kind of society that is. Right? So that is again linked to the social status. There is a custom called Kula. Kula is studied by Malinowski among Trobrianders. In this, what happens? There are two kind of items, non-monetary goods. Right? One is red shell necklace, red shell का बना हुआ necklace, and white shell bracelet. Right? These are exchanged. Right? And who possess maximum number of these Kula goods have a higher status than the others. Although in case of Trobrianders, they have hereditary chiefs. Right? There is a kind of chiefdom. They have hereditary chiefs. Chief उनका hereditary institution है, क्योंकि उनको पता है कि यही chief है. But if you possess more number of Kula goods, then your status is higher than the other people. Clear? Okay. Now, what are the relevance of economic anthropology? Next heading, relevance of economic anthropology. Yes. What can be the relevance? Hanji, dear. What could be the relevance? Why you are studying economies? फिर चेंज अगर आपने पता कर लिया, चेक कर लिया, then what you will do? If you find out that there is a trouble, there is a problem in the you can say sustenance of a community, what will you do? You will suggest measures, some policy measures, and those policies will be outcome oriented. These are more acceptable. So what can be the utility? Economic anthropology can be useful for formulation of outcome oriented and more acceptable policies for tribal development and development of simple societies. Right? You just do write this. Right? It can be useful for formulation of outcome oriented, comma, acceptable policies for optimum resource utilization and all round development of the tribal communities. Right? Now, the development that we are doing, it is causing more harm than the good to the tribal people. Right? So can't we regulate the pace of development and what kind of development they need? Isn't it? See, we are imposing our standards of development on the tribal communities. Is it good? Because ultimately it is causing more harm than the good. So, economic anthropology can be helpful in regulating the pace of development in the tribal communities or in the tribal areas. Isn't it? It can be helpful. How it can be helpful? We have a policy of tribal panchsheel. What does tribal panchsheel says? That tribals should be allowed to develop on the lines of their own genius. There shall be no over administration. There should be no multiplicity of schemes. Right? The you can say more number of administrators or outsiders should not be allowed into the tribal people or tribal areas. So these are few principles. These are 5 set of principles, Nehruian principles of tribal principle, right? Tribal panchsheel, that is there. So that is the backbone of the tribal policy making even today in India, right? Because the principles are kind of some kind of forward looking principles, right? So what you can do here, what can be the other relevance? Regulating the pace of development in tribal pockets. This is the next topic. What are the similarities? Yes, undoubtedly. दैट ट्राइबल्स शुड बी अलाउड टू डेवलप ऑन द लाइन ऑफ देयर ओन जीनियस। ठीक है, ये लाइन स्टैंडर्ड लाइन रट लो इसको। ट्राइबल्स शुड बी अलाउड टू डेवलप ऑन द लाइन्स ऑफ देयर ओन जीनियस। इस लाइन को जितना यूज कर पाओ पेपर 2 में करते रहना। ठीक है, 2-3 क्वेश्चन में तो लगा ही देना। अलाउड टू डेवलप ऑन द लाइन्स ऑफ देयर ओन जीनियस। ठीक है, देयर शुड बी नो ओवर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है। ओवर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन नहीं होना चाहिए। इम्पोजिशन ऑफ पीपल नहीं होना चाहिए, बाहर वालों का नहीं आना चाहिए। राइट, मल्टीप्लिसिटी ऑफ स्कीम्स नहीं होनी चाहिए। राइट, द डेवलपमेंट शुड नॉट बी जज्ड इन टर्म्स ऑफ अमाउंट ऑफ मनी स्पेंट बट अमाउंट ऑफ ह्यूमन कैरेक्टर डेवलप्ड। अभी इतना लिखना नहीं है, विल डिस्कस दैट इन पेपर 2 नेचुरली। राइट, अभी जरूरत नहीं है इतना। What are the similarities between the two? Both studies the economic aspect. Both studies the principles of production, distribution, exchange and consumption. This is the similarity, isn't it? Now, both borrow work from each other, right? For example, formalist school of economic anthropology was inspired from neoclassical economic principles proposed by स्मिथ, एडम स्मिथ। वेल्थ ऑफ नेशंस में जो आया था, इकोनॉमिक्स में पढ़ते हो आप, राइट। और बिहेवियरल इकोनॉमिक्स क्या है वो तो आप जानते ही हो, है ना। बिहेवियरल इकोनॉमिक्स, आप कोई चीज खोल के तो देखो एक बारी, लाइन लग जाती है। फेसबुक आपका बिहेवियर ज्यादा रीड कर रही है, पूरा एंथ्रोपोलॉजी कर रहे हैं वो भी। इंस्टाग्राम, फेसबुक सब एंथ्रोपोलॉजी स्क्वायर करे बैठे हैं, राइट। डोंट थिंक दैट एंथ्रोपोलॉजी इज वेरी, यू कैन से, शैलो फील्ड। इट इज वेरी हाईली पेड फील्ड, बहुत अच्छा है। यहाँ इंडिया में वैल्यू नहीं है, यहाँ पे बस नौकरी भी नहीं मिलती है, बट बाहर इसकी बहुत वैल्यू है, राइट। सो बिहेवियरल इकोनॉमिस्ट apply anthropological insights to understand group behavior. Okay, ये जो सारे जो है, हम जो बात करें कॉन्स्पिकुअस कंजम्पशन की, जो मैंने बताया, वाई पीपल स्पेंड वेरी हाई, राइट। थोड़े दिन पहले एक हुआ था कि पता नहीं कौन से एक क्रिकेटर की कुछ वॉचेस पकड़ लिया था, 5 करोड़ का था, कस्टम वालों ने। हाँ, सो व्हाट इज दिस? 5 करोड़ की घड़ी का क्या करोगे भाई? मतलब जस्ट थिंक अबाउट इट, 5 करोड़ मतलब इट्स नॉट अ वेरी स्मॉल अमाउंट, राइट। देन मैरिज पे कुछ लोग करते हैं कि कुछ 100-200 करोड़ तो वैसे ही खर्चा हो जाता है, राइट। और हाँ, और अगर आप देखोगे नॉर्थ इंडिया में मैरिज इज लाइक, इफ देयर इज, यू कैन से स्ट्रेंथ इज लेस देन 1000, तो शादी ही नहीं है। वो शादी ढंग की नहीं करी इन लोगों ने, है ना, बहुत कंजूसी कर गए, ऐसे ऐसे डायलॉग आते हैं लोगों के, राइट। ये तो कंजूस लोग हैं, ये तो शादी में पैसा लगाना ही नहीं चाहते हैं, ये तो बुलाना ही नहीं चाह रहे थे, हमें भी गलती से नोता देना पड़ा। दैट इज अ काइंड ऑफ a general argument that you may find, right? So differences. Now I told you the differences, how to write, right? So what I told you, the scope. So the scope of economics is limited to the modern society, right? Simple as well as modern society. That is one. Second is subject matter. Limited to the study of economic aspect, right? It is holistic, right? Studies economic aspect in relation with biological, socio-cultural, ecological and other perspectives. खरिया जो लोग हैं उनके अंदर लैक्टेज जीन नहीं है और उनको आपने बफलो दे दिया, काट के खा जाएंगे भाई, उनको दूध डाइजेस्ट ही नहीं होता, राइट? सो बायोलॉजिकल पर्सपेक्टिव, यू अंडरस्टैंड? आपने खरिया जो लोग हैं उनको बफेलो दे दिया, क्या करेंगे भाई उनको? आप चाहते हो कि दे बिकम पास्टोरलिस्ट ओवरनाइट, दे कैन नॉट डाइजेस्ट मिल्क, व्हाट विल दे डू विद द बफेलोज? सो काट के खा गया, खत्म बात, राइट? नेक्स्ट, see, economics start with a presupposition, right? There are certain assumptions that the resources are scarce, man is rational, and men exchange things to maximize their profit, right? So the assumptions that the economics have, so you may differentiate on the basis of assumptions, right? और यू मे राइट, इसकी अप्रोच क्या है, किस तरह से ये देखता है, एक ही बात है, द वे यू वांट टू राइट दैट इट्स अप्रोच इज दैट दे लुक फ्रॉम द रेशनैलिटी, स्कार्सिटी एंड दीज मार्केट प्रिंसिपल। ये नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है, इनकी अप्रोच क्या है, दैट वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड इकोनॉमी एज अ सब सिस्टम of the overall socio-cultural system. Economy is just a subsystem of overall socio-cultural system. You may just make a diagram here, just in this case, this is economy, right? This is political organization, this is their social organization, this is customs, norms, religion, right? This is how you may just make that it is just a part. वो उसको अलग से देख के चल रहे हैं, right? It is based on the principle of rationality, scarcity and market. ठीक है? Methods and techniques used by them. Methods and techniques. So it uses surveys, and what it use? Participant observation mainly. Mainly participant observation. ठीक है? Now, see, when we look at the societies as some kind of, or you can say, as a whole system, total system, right? So that gives us a holistic picture. So economic anthropology look at the holistic picture. Economics have its own narrow principles that studies a particular phenomena in a much keen and detailed manner. Right? This is specialization. That is generalization. Specialization and generalization. And we need both of them. So in conclusion, what will you say? To understand the complex behavior of humankind, we require interdisciplinary collaboration. Interdisciplinary collaboration. And that is why economists and the anthropologists collaborate quite often, right? They collaborate quite often. बस ठीक है. सो अगर वो आपसे पूछता है, ये क्वेश्चन बहुत रेयर है, बट स्टिल दैट विल हेल्प यू टू अंडरस्टैंड द डिमांड, और यू कैन से द डिटेल्स ऑफ दिस part, right? Next is formalist and substantivist debate. Next part is formalist and substantivist debate. The formalist and substantivist debate was first highlighted by Karl Polanyi in his book The Great Transformation, 1944. The Great Transformation, 1944. According to him, the word economics have two meanings. Formal and substantivist or substantive. Formal meaning is based on The principles of modern neoclassical economics, neoclassical economics, that is scarcity, rationality and market. Scarcity, okay, then substantive, substantive meaning describe how men make living, men make living in social and cultural environment. Niharika, be clear. I do not understand. What do you want to say? Malinowski's idea. Okay. Now, you understand this? Okay. So, the formalists, next paragraph. Formalists are represented by Raymond Firth. Remember Raymond Firth? He was a student of Malinowski, right? Herskowitz, etc., who believe that principles of modern economics can be applied to understand the economic behavior of people of simple societies. ठीक है? Substantivist, next paragraph में लिख लो. On the other hand, are represented by Malinowski, Bohannon, वही वाले Bohannon टिव वाले ही, Sahalins, Marshall Sahalins, Polanyi himself, etc. Substantivists believe, full stop करके लिखो, substantivists believe that simple societies function in a different way than the complex societies. So they have to be understood in their own and holistic way. The debate between Next paragraph. The debate between the formalists and substantivists can be summarized on four major dimensions. Number one, nature of economic systems. Number two, the principle of scarcity. Number three, the principle of rationality. Number four, the principle of market. ठीक है, एक एक करके लिखते हैं सभी को. Right? The debate is summarized into these four major dimensions. The first one, nature of economic systems. The formalists look at the economic system of the simple societies as separate, whereas substantivists consider that economic system is embedded in the larger socio-cultural milieu. Larger socio-cultural milieu. Second, milieu समझ गए ना, environment. अगर milieu नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, environment लिख लो. Second, principle of scarcity. Formalists believe that scarcity is universal. Scarcity is universal and it is caused by unlimited demands / wants of the humans. Unlimited demands or the wants of the humans. Right. Marshall Salins rejected this idea and argued that hunter and gatherers are originally affluent people, because they have limited wants, and sufficient means to fulfill these wants. Right. Third is principle of rationality. Formalists argue that human beings work to maximize their material, or you can say monetary profits. Material or monetary profits, right? Raymond Firth says, इसी को आगे लिखो, Trobreanders perform magic before fishing expedition so that they can get a bumper harvest. They can get a bumper harvest. Substantivists rejected this idea. According to them, rationality is not always for maximization of monetary profits. People can be rational in their own ways. Will you say that Malays are not rational when they do not plow their land? Or will you say that these people, Trobreanders, they travel across the oceans just to exchange two non-material goods? Are they non-rational? There is a rationality because that good will give that person a status. So they are rational in their own way. Right? Rationality is not just for the profit maximization. Isn't it? So formalists have a narrow vision that they saw rationality just in terms of profit. ठीक है? जैसे कि आपको बोला जाए कि आप अपने दोस्त को कोई गिफ्ट कर देते हो उसके बर्थडे पे, राइट? सो इज इट अ वेस्टफुल एक्सरसाइज? आप आज दे रहे हो तो अपने बर्थडे पे तो लोगे वापस, है ना? दैट इज नॉट जस्ट दैट, rather that friend of yours is indebted because of that gift. कल को सेलेक्ट हो गया और आप नहीं हुए तो आपके आधे काम निकलेंगे, राइट? सो you can say that it is not just about that thing, right? Marcel Mauss को समझते हैं. I not to write in here, but just understand that. Marcel Mauss, I believe you remember Marcel Mauss. किसका भतीजा था? अमिल दुर्खाइम का, right? He wrote a book, The Gift. He also had a debate with Malinowski on Khula. We'll be talking about that, right? So he says that gift is not a free gift. Gift create obligations. There are obligations that every gift creates. What are the kind of obligations it create? Obligation to give, obligation to receive, and obligation to repay, right? So people are rational in their own way. Don't judge people that they are not rational or you are the only people who are rational. Third is the principle of market. Formalists believe that the principle of demand and supply can be applicable to simple society as well. But substantivists rejected this argument. Right. So डिमांड एंड सप्लाई कहीं पे काम कर रहा है जब वो पोर्टलैच हो रहा है तो जस्ट राइट एग्जांपल पोर्टलैच कूला सिस्टम this is a kind of exchange mechanisms these people have portletch kula system right there's a study by Asen Blaikie who says that Eskimos share food in unpredictable times and do not share in times of plenty. Lorna Marshall studied Kung who distribute their hunt among all members of their band. ठीक है ये अगर मान लिया होता क्या है सपोज वन पर्सन हैव किल्ड एंटीलोप तो पहला राइट होगा जिसने मारा बट आफ्टर दैट द मीट विल बी डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड अमंग ऑल ऑफ देम विल शेयर द मीट राइट क्योंकि आज उसका तुक्का लग गया कल ना लगे फिर हाउ विल दे सर्वाइव सो इन दोज सोसाइटी वेयर देयर इज scarcity of food, sharing is the best mechanism because if you are sharing today, tomorrow you can have it, right? I had discussed with one person from Uttarakhand. So normally whenever I meet someone and I have time, so मैं बात करता हूँ, and that is what we get knowledge information about the human behavior. So when I was talking to that person, he says that I live in Uttarakhand and upper reaches. So हम वहाँ पे कभी कभार hunt पे भी जाते हैं, right? And we kill, suppose we have killed a big boar or something, right? So suppose we need that much, because we live in small hamlets, उनका 10-12 घर का hamlet होता है, तो बाकी बचा हुआ मीट का मैंने कहा क्या करते हो? बोले we don't have refrigerators and all, so we just go to the neighboring village and we just give it to them. And whenever they have such kind of thing, they also give it back. If any one of you live in a village society or have lived in the village society, if some you can say relative of yours come home, they come normally with the fruits and some sweets. So these sweets are distributed with the neighbors. And whenever someone come to their house, again they will reciprocate. Right? These exchange of gifts is nothing but it is just building the bonds between the people. राइट? अदरवाइज कोई जरूरत नहीं है किसी को भी, उस स्वीट से उस फ्रूट से किसी का पेट नहीं भर रहा है और कोई भूखा नहीं सो रहा है उसके बिना. बट वट इज इट हैज अ फंक्शनल इंपॉर्टेंस, इट बाइंड्स पीपल इनटू अ काइंड ऑफ रेसिप्रोकेटिंग ग्रुप, राइट? Okay, sometime I have the debates with my wife on that parents gift, right? I told you that she's a little bit thoda sa on high end, right? So we have that debate that कि गर्ल्स को देना चाहिए या नहीं देना चाहिए, right? कि फादर को अपनी गर्ल्स को कुछ गिफ्ट देना चाहिए या नहीं देना चाहिए. So naturally I am not against the gift, but I am against giving the monetary things or something like, so you can say kind of things that create a kind of different kind of environment, right? किसी को भी नहीं देना चाहिए, दोनों लड़का लड़की को इक्वल समझना चाहिए और वो अरेंजमेंट नहीं रखना चाहिए. बट द थिंग इज इफ द पेरेंट्स डू नॉट गिव गिफ्ट्स टू देयर चिल्ड्रन, सो चिल्ड्रन एक टाइम के बाद में कोई ज़्यादा रह नहीं जाता है. यू जस्ट थिंक till the time you guys need money, you are connected with your father. The moment you become economically independent, वो वाली बातें इतनी नहीं होती हैं, उतनी frequent phone calls नहीं होते हैं, right? वैसे तो हर हफ्ते फोन पहुंच जाता था कि पापा भी समझ जाते थे, हाँ बस डाल दूंगा ठीक है ना, इतनी बात होती थी. उस पापा को समझ गया 2 बार फोन आ लिया इस वीक में, मतलब बेटे को जरूरत है, बेटी को जरूरत है, राइट? दैट इज व्हाट इट इज, राइट? सो दीज एक्सचेंजेस आर इंपॉर्टेंट इन द सोसाइटी, राइट? एक्सचेंज नेटवर्क्स आर, यू कैन से, a kind of binding thing. दिवाली पे गिफ्ट क्यों देते हो? यू अंडरस्टैंड? दिवाली तो समझते हो ना, दिवाली पे गिफ्ट देते हैं बहुत सारे लोग. क्यों देते हैं? कोई भी फेस्टिविटी पे क्यों गिफ्ट देते हैं? बस आपस में रेसिप्रोसिटी बनी रहती है, लिंक्स बने रहते हैं. Okay, so market. Now, the debate is surrounding in these three. Now, both of these approaches has been criticized because according to neo-Marxists, the tribal societies are not static and isolated, rather they are in continuous contact with outside societies, and thereby experiencing change. exchange. Right. Andrew Vaida suggested culture ecology approach to understand the simple societies culture ecology approach to understand the simple societies. Okay, what he says, अभी इससे ज़्यादा लिखना नहीं है इस आंसर में, मैं आपको समझा रहा हूँ. What Andrew Vaida did. Andrew Vaida studied Shembaga people. Have I discussed earlier Kaiko? Huh. So Shembaga have a pig slaughter ritual. Right? That they name Kaiko. Right? And this Kaiko helped them to adapt So this is another approach suggested by him, right? There is another approach which was suggested by Anna Singh. Anna Singh studied Meratus Dayak. Meratus Dayak and suggested इंडोनेशिया का है, suggested political economy approach to understand the economic systems of simple societies. Right? We can employ, conclusion में लिख लो, we can employ the combination of these approaches, to understand the statics and dynamics, दोनों को इन्वर्टेड कॉमा में कर देना, statics and dynamics of simple economies. ठीक है, सीधा क्वेश्चन ऐसा ही आता, छाप देना. ओके हाँ, सीधा छाप देना. 10 मार्कर आएगा तो थोड़ा सा मेहनत लगाना कि कम कर लेना इसको, जहां जहां ज्यादा एग्जाम्पल्स हैं उनको कम कर देना और छाप देना. ठीक है, लास्ट ईयर आया था. Now we will move on to the principles of exchange and distribution. I may write distribution पहले भी, एक ही बात है. Distribution and exchange एक ही बात है. ठीक है ना? कार्ल पोलानी in his book The great transformation, याद हो जाएगी बुक अब तो, 1944 याद रहे ना रहे, ग्रेट ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन जीटी याद रहे, राइट. क्लासिफाइड the principles of distribution and exchange into three types: reciprocity, redistribution, and मार्केट एक्सचेंज. अगर आप डायग्राम बना रहे हो तो रेसिप्रोसिटी को हम अभी यहां पे सिर्फ कैटेगराइज करके दिखा रहा हूं आपको, दैट इट इज फर्दर सब क्लासिफाइड इनटू 3 एंड दिस क्लासिफिकेशन वाज गिवन बाय मार्शल साहलिन्स. राइट. जनरलाइज्ड रेसिप्रोसिटी जो आपके पेरेंट्स आपके साथ कर रहे हैं, बैलेंस्ड रेसिप्रोसिटी जो आप अपने दोस्तों के साथ करते हो, राइट, एंड नेगेटिव रेसिप्रोसिटी जो आप नहीं करते हो, आप अच्छे बच्चे हो, ठीक है, बट अगर कोई लूटेगा, करप्शन करेगा तो नेगेटिव ही है इफेक्टिवली, राइट. ठीक है, ये हम बाद में बात करेंगे, तो अभी रेसिप्रोसिटी लिखते हैं. रेसिप्रोसिटी, फर्स्ट वन, रेसिप्रोसिटी. रेसिप्रोसिटी इन्वॉल्व्स exchange of goods and services between people who are bound in no market, comma, non-hierarchical relations with one another. The reciprocal exchange is part of their general behavior. Reciprocity is the most common mode of exchange among simple societies. Reciprocity means, next point में लिखते जाओ. Reciprocity means mutuality. Next, it is the characteristic of egalitarian societies. Right? Next, reciprocity solidifies societal relationships okay. Next, types of reciprocity. Marshall Sahlins classified reciprocity in three types: based on kinship distance in his book Stone Age Economics. Stone Age Economics. So what are the three types? Generalized, balanced, and negative reciprocity. Right? Generalized reciprocity, number one. Generalized reciprocity involves sharing or gifting without any immediate expectation of return, right? It is the characteristic of simple societies. It is non-reciprocal. समझ गए ना? कोई एक्सपेक्टेशन नहीं है तो मतलब वापस आए ना आए मैटर नहीं कर रहा है. It is non-reciprocal, right? According to Sahalins, it is practiced among family members and near kins. Right? Okay. Now, why people share without expectation? So reasons लिख लो. Generalized reciprocity solidify social relationships and this help them in survival especially when there is high unpredictability in food getting. Case study: Kung was studied by Lorna Marshall. According to her, the meat of the game is distributed. Meat of the game मतलब hunt. Meat game 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 मतलब hunt. Game is distributed among all kin members without any immediate expectation. Right? Okay. Now, Yanomamo, I believe you remember Napoleon Chagnon. Yanomamo share hunted games and not garden produce. नॉट गार्डन प्रोड्यूस, मतलब वो हॉर्टिकल्चर वाला प्रोड्यूस नहीं शेयर कर रहे हैं, बट हंटेड गेम शेयर कर रहे हैं। तो जिसकी अनप्रिडिक्टेबिलिटी ज़्यादा है वो शेयर करने से क्या होता है, रेसिप्रोसिटी बढ़ती है, राइट। देयर वर यू कैन से there are many arguments on Yanomamo people. Yeah, it was believed that Yanomamo, you know, they, you can say, consider protein as a very important resource. That is why they hunt, they are aggressive, they kill and all these things, right? But you know, when it was asked by Napoleon Chagnon to the Yanomamo, why you are very fierce, why you go on raids with the other communities, they say we value women more than the hunt, हम women लूटने जाते हैं, right? That was their belief, right? Counter to this, Marvin Harris says that protein argument, that protein की supply limited है in society में, so they are aggressive and they raid here and there because they want to capture more and more land so that they can have more and more hunt, right? There are many arguments. Okay, now balanced reciprocity. Balanced reciprocity involve obligation to return, obligation to return. It is explicit and short term in expectation of return. Explicit and short term in expectation of return. Third, next point लिख लो, there is immediate exchange of goods. There is immediate exchange of goods which may be a commodity or a gift, which may be a commodity or a gift. For example, Kula goods, Kula of Strawberry and Us is a balanced reciprocity, or you may write Kula exchange, right? Kula exchange is in a kind of ring system, मतलब पूरा एक रिंग की फॉर्म में होता है. There are you can say various islands among the Strawberry and Us, and those ring of islands, that which is a dotted line, right? One good that is called as the red shell necklace, Solava, it moves in the clockwise direction, and the other is in the anti-clockwise direction. Other is called as Mawali, right? Solava and Mawali. We'll give giving you these names later on. Solava and Mawali. This is a red shell necklace, white shell bracelet, right? Okay. Balanced reciprocity shows organic dependence of groups on one another, according to Charlens. Next point लिखो. According to Charlens, balanced reciprocity is practiced among equals who are not closely related. Example, pastoralists and agriculturist groups, Kula exchange among top breeders. Barter exchange between Kung and Twa Bantus कुंग एंड ट्वा बंटूज, त्वाना बंटूज भी लिख सकते हो, त्वा बंटूज भी लिख सकते हो, राइट। सो एक ही बात है, त्वा एंड त्वाना भी लिख सकते हो। कभी हो सकता है कि आप त्वा लिखा मिले, कभी त्वाना भी लिखा मिल सकता है, बिकॉज त्वा ना भी लिखते हैं त्वा, ठीक है। इट इज रेड लाइक दिस, ठीक है। Like I told you, there are multiple names of the same tribe. कुंग को बोलते हैं डोबीजू हांसी, some people, some say San people, right? Some say Kungsan, right? Okay. Now there are some other studies like R.K. Prasad on balanced reciprocity. R.K. Prasad studied Badliva system. Badliva system मतलब बदला सिस्टम, काइंड ऑफ बदलीवा, BADLIVA, बदलीवा सिस्टम of balanced reciprocity among Paharias of Palamu, Paharias of Palamu, where kinsmen, समझ गए किन्समैन क्या होता है, रिश्तेदार, किन भी लिख सकते हो, किन्स हेल्प देयर किन इन कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ हाउस एंड इन रिटर्न द किन ऑफर्स them सत्तू एंड शरबत, ठीक है, सस्ते में छूट जाता है, सत्तू एंड शरबत, ठीक है, इसी में सस्ते में छूट जाता है। भील में थोड़ा सा महंगा पड़ता है, भील में बियर पिलानी पड़ती है, ठीक है। ओके, देन देर आर सम अदर ग्रुप्स इन नीलगिरीज, right, where we have seen the balanced reciprocity. There is a society called Kota, right? We have Todas, we have Badagas, and we have Kurumbas. Yes, dear. Now, Kurumbas are basically hunter and gatherers. These are pastoralists and these are agriculturists. And these are गाने बजाने वाले and iron smiths. तो ये घूमते रहते हैं इधर से उधर। सो टोडा से दूध लेंगे, दूसरी जगह सप्लाई कर देंगे, यहाँ से ग्रेन्स लेंगे, दूसरी जगह सप्लाई कर देंगे। दिस इज अ काइंड ऑफ बैलेंस्ड reciprocity that is found among these communities, studied by many people including W.H.R. Rivers, R.H. Lowy, etc. Right. Similar kind of arrangement is seen in the central Indian belt, where we have these communities like Mundas, Santhal, Ho. These are agricultural communities, and they exchange with Mahalis, right? Mahalis are basket makers, right? Asurs, these are ironsmiths. Chikbarek, these are weavers. Agriculturist, right? So such kind of arrangement is seen at various places. Mahalis, Asurs, any one of them you may use, not all of them at once, right? Any one of them, इसमें से एक नहीं, ये एक स्टडी है, ये एक स्टडी है, और उससे पहले वाली एक एक स्टडी थी, राइट? सो एनी वन ऑफ देम यू मे राइट, सब मत लिख देना, नहीं तो फिर एक ही जगह खत्म कर दोगे सारा, राइट? बिल्ड योर आर्सेनल, डोंट एग्जॉस्ट इट, ओके? नेक्स्ट, negative reciprocity. Negative reciprocity involves taking advantage of others or attempting to take advantage and harm others. For example, Naga raids in the neighboring groups, Yanomamo raids in the neighboring groups, Yanomamo या फिर Naga raids in the neighboring groups. Right. According to Shalins, it is practiced against enemies or strangers. Right? According to Clyde Cluckon, comma, Clyde Cluckon. You remember Cluckon? According to Clyde Cluckon, comma, among Navajo, 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 deceiving foreign tribes is morally acceptable. Morally acceptable, right? Now, this is on reciprocity, right? Tomorrow we'll talk about redistribution. Tomorrow नहीं, अभी 3 दिन की छुट्टी है, right? टेस्ट अभी नहीं ले सकते हैं, घर पे लिखने का दे सकते हैं, टेस्ट घर पे हो जाएगा. सो टेस्ट अपलोड करवा देता हूँ मैं. राइट आप लोगों के लिए जो ऑफलाइन वाले हैं, यू मे फाइंड द टेस्ट ऑन दी ग्रुप, राइट कल ही लिख लो फिर, नहीं 10 को लिख लेंगे, ठीक है 10 को संडे को लिख लो, मैं 10 तारीख को आपको पेपर दे दूंगा, ठीक है। एंड मेक श्योर यू राइट एवरीथिंग, राइट टेक योर टाइम बट डोंट चीट, बुक मत यूज करना, राइट आप डेली आंसर राइटिंग कर रहे हो उसमें घर पे देख के लिखो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, बट व्हेन यू आर राइटिंग टेस्ट, टेस्ट को बिना देखे लिखना है, ठीक है। डू प्रिपेयर, जो नहीं आता है वो वैसे ही लिखो, बिकॉज सम टाइम यू हैव टू टेस्ट योरसेल्व्स, टेस्ट करना पर्पज है हमारा, कितना याद आ रहा है, राइट लास्ट में तो जब हम आएंगे तो वी विल बी आस्किंग questions within the class. I will be giving you a question and giving you 5 to 10 minutes to write. That will be another exercise, but before that you must prepare yourself, right? Thank you for today, right? See you all, take care.